Hey drummers, it's Rob Litton here from drumstheword.com. Welcome to this free mini song lesson where today I'm going to show you a song that was suggested over on my Facebook page. The song Rock With You by Michael Jackson, drummed by the studio legend John Robinson Jr. And what I've got for you are 3 pages of transcriptions of the main drum beats and fills from the song. With these parts you'll be able to play the entire piece. It's not much going on in it, it's just a few little variations that occur, but some very, very cool ideas, very, very disco 70s kind of feel to it. And you can download all 3 PDF pages of the PDF from my website for free. You'll find a link beneath this video. So have all 3 pages printed out as we go through this together. So starting with the first section, John comes in straight away from the beginning of the song with this really cool drum fill. And it starts on the bass drum, 1, and then from the end of beat 1, John plays a set of 16th note triplets, anti-2 into beat 2, 1, anti-2. Now I think he plays them as a single stroke. You could play them as right, left, right, left, right, for example, but I think, certainly by the smoothness of the notes, I think he plays it as a single stroke, 1 and 2. So you start with the right, and you end up on the left playing beat 2, 1 and 2 E, and that bass drum falls just after beat 2 on the E of 2, 1 and 2 E, 1 and 2 E, and you get this natural increase in volume, So the same idea occurs from beat 3, but instead of playing 16th note triplets, John moves to 16th notes, so 3 notes per beat. Starting on beat 3, we get 3E and a 4E, and that bass drum again leading us out, 3E and a 4E. But John starts those 16th notes with a flam, and there's many different ways stickings you could use, but I think the most appropriate, most common sticking, and one that I use a lot as well, is a right hand flam followed by a left hand, so you get like a right hand flam tap, or left hand flam tap. So you play a left hand flam. I said right, sorry, it's supposed to be a left hand flam, so you play the right hand slightly before the left hand, and you get that left hand following straight afterwards. The reason being that you then end up on the correct hand, the right hand, to take you out of the drum fill. So we get 3E and a 4E, and again that bass drum on the E of 4 there, 3E and a 4E, 3E and a 4E, 3E and a 4E. If you're not comfortable playing that flam at the beginning, just leave it out and just play. That'll work just as well. So slowly, 1 and 2E, 3E and a 4E and a, 1 and 2E, 3E and a 4E and a, and then we're into our first groove. So I've got for you the next 4 bars of groove, and this gives you an idea of what John's doing with the bass drum. Most of the time he's playing these push notes, a 1 or a 3 on the bass drum, but you can hardly ever hear, most of the time, the bass drum on the just before the main downbeat. He sort of ghosts it, rather than, you don't really hear each individual note, you sort of hear almost like a ghosted bass drum. He's not doing that on purpose, it's just a feel thing, and it's really cool, but it means that sometimes you can hardly hear the bass drum on the and I'm pretty sure he leaves out it occasionally, as we see in the 4th bar. So the first bar is the second line is our main groove for the song. We're playing 16th notes on the hi-hat, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. That's the basic groove. But like I said, John occasionally plays these extra bass drum notes on the or most of the time he plays them. So in the first bar we've got 1E and a 2E and a 3, 4, 1E and a 2E and a 3, 4, 1 and 2E and a 3. They line up with the left and the right hand there. So up to speed, and going from the drum fill, and I'll play as well at the microphone on in a second. Going on to the second bar, it's the same as the first bar, except John also throws in these open hi-hats occasionally at the end of the bar. This time, this one occurs on the and of beat 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 4E and a. And John is playing the single strokes on the hi-hat incredibly quietly, so you don't really hear, the left hand striking the hi-hat while it's still open, even though he is doing that. But because he's playing it so softly, you just really hear the main open hi-hat on the ands. You don't want to hear You don't want to hear that where you're da-da. You just want to hear the right hand open on the and that'll make it sound like the song. So on it goes the next line, same as the first bar, just groove. And then the fourth bar there has the extra bass drum note on beat 4 with the snare drum. Another idea he does occasionally. It goes with the song. You'll hear it with the bass guitar, dum dum. Not that section, but there's parts where John repeats or copies the bass guitar part every 4 or 8 bars, where he plays the bass drum with the snare drum on beat 4. So here's an example of that. Notice also I didn't hear a bass drum on the of beat 2. So this is just 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E, and I'm not playing a 3. It's just 1, 2, 3. But then beat 4, 3 E and a 4 E and a 4 with the bass drum, 3 E and a 4 E and again a little open hi-hat there at the end. So let me play those 5 bars and then play up to speed. 1 and 2 E, 3 E and a 4 E, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And now up to speed without the microphone on so you can hear just the drums. Here we go. So this next section occurs at 14 seconds, and it's really the second bar I wanted to show you because this drum fill gets used a few times in the song. So the first bar is just leading up to it, and we've got an example of an open hi-hat on the and a beat 2. 1, 2, and 3, 4. No extra bass drum on the of 2, notice. The second bar though, we get 1, 2, 3 E and, then down to the snare drum with the left hand followed by the right hand. 3 E and a 4. 3 E and a 4 and into an open hi-hat on the and a beat 4, no bass drum with that, just on its own. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and a 4, and 1, 2, 3 and a 4, and 1. It's a very simple drum fill, but you use it quite a few times in the song. So let's hear those 2 bars up to speed. Okay, for this section that occurs 18 seconds, pretty much straight after those last 2 bars I showed you, John and the song goes into like a verse section where John is playing simply 8th notes on the hi-hat, but he's doing that pumping on the bass drum every time. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. So before we had 1 E and a 2 E and a, now we just have 1 and 2 and just 8th notes on the hi-hat. But you notice when we play the 3, the first note falls in between the right hands. 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 3. So be aware of that lining up with that right hand in your bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to speed, sort of. So if you really can't get those 2 bass drums up to speed, then you're going to have to leave them out. You could just play 1, 2, 3. It's still groove. You still have to get through the song, but if you can't play them, you can't play them. So then we just get 4 more bars of that groove. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th bar, end of that line, has an open hi-hat at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So look out for that. And then on the second line, again, as I mentioned earlier on, it follows the bass guitar, and it's an example of John doing it again. John plays the bass drum with the snare drum on beat 4. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 with the open hi-hat at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So let's hear those 8 bars up to speed. Okay, this next section occurs at 43 seconds. Really cool groove idea, this. The idea really for the first 2 bars is John's playing the 8th notes on the upbeats, on the ands of each. He's not playing them 1 and, he's playing 1 and 2 and 3 and real sort of disco kind of dance beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the first bar, we've got the bass drum falling on 1, 2, 3, goes with the vocals I believe. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But we also have the open hi-hat on the ands of 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 The rest of that bar, there's no extra open hi-hats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice what I'm doing is playing the eighth notes on the ands and the opens on the and of 1 and the and of 2. 1, 2, 3. And that bass drum falling down on 1, 2 and 3. So the bass drum falls with the snare drum on 2. The second bar is similar, except there's no bass drum on beat 2 and no open hi-hat at the beginning, but there is one at the ends. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 1 into a bass drum on its own. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Then we go back to a standard sort of straight groove where John, from the and of beat 1, starts playing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3, all the eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3. Notice that bass drum appearing again in bar 3 with the snare drum on beat 2. 1 and 2 and 3. Straight after beat 3, come up to your high tom, 3 and 4 and a little crash cymbal on the and of beat 4. 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and. Into the last bar, let me do that again for you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. As we go into the last bar though, notice he skips over beat 1 and the and of beat 1, comes in back with the bass drum on 2. 2 and 3 and 4 and that drum fill again. 1 and 2 and 3 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 4 and 1. So we skip over the bass drum on beat 1. Then we play those 4 bars slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. And now let's hear those 4 bars up to speed. So this next section occurs at 1 minute 34, and I included it, even though it's pretty much identical to the last section, but it has a slightly different ends, the fourth bar slightly different. So bars 1, 2 and 3 are exactly the same as we've done previously. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But that last bar, we still got the bass drum on 2, 3, 4, but he's playing all the eighth notes starting from beat 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then slightly differently at the end, which is cool. He comes up to the hi-hat, E and, to play those 2 open hi-hats. So we get 3 and 4 E and 1, 3 and 4 E and 1. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. Both those hi-hats at the end there, E and, are both open. So slowly those 4 bars. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. And up to speed. So there, 2 minutes, John goes into full disco mode, dance beat mode, and he's playing 16th notes on the hi-hat, and the open hi-hats occurring every beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Underneath it though, John is playing some variations on the bass drum. So these first 4 bars give you an idea of how he improvises it quite a bit. First bar is 1 and 2, a 3, 4. So we get the a 3. Second bar doesn't have the a 3 but has a 1 at the end instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1. Then the next line, same as the line above it, and then the last bar just has bass drums on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, just bass drums on 1 and 3. So slowly, 1 and 2, a 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1, 2, a 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that gives you an idea of how John improvises with the bass drum, so feel free to do the same as you're going through the song. Don't feel you have to play a 3 or a 1 every time. You can sort of change it up as John does. So let's hear those 4 bars up to speed. So then 2 minute 28 we get this drum fill. The first bar is just the groove leading into it. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last bar though is 1, 2, 3. So the open hi-hat on beat 3 opens for the whole of beat 3, 3 and then closes on beat 4 with a flam on the snare drum, 3 and 4 and a 1, flam and a 1, flam right left into the next section. So those 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and a 1. And up to speed. So on to the last page, at 2 minute 39, we get 2 ideas being introduced. I think he played them previously in the song, but this is a really cool section that stood out for me, where he plays bass drums on 3 and 4. He might play 1 and 2 earlier in the song as well, but he likes his 3 and 4 towards the end of the song. So that first bar, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Kind of cool, it pumps with the guitar and bass. I can't remember what section he's playing along with. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Then the second bar I've included because it has this little accent on the of beat 1. 1, a 2, 1, a 2, 1, a 2. And you could use it as an open hi-hat, but John doesn't. He's just striking that hi-hat with the left hand on the of beat 1, just slightly louder than the other hi-hat note, so it stands out. Into a 3, so 1, a 2, a 3, 4. So 2 bars, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and 1, a 2, a 3, 4. And let's hear that up to speed. Then at 2 minute 58, there's a more advanced accent pattern that pops out, where he accents the 2 notes either side of the snare drum on beat 2. 1, a 2 E, 1 E and a 2 E. So the snare drum comes down, right hand comes down to the snare drum normally, but the hi-hats, the left hand note on the hi-hat is playing 2 accents, 1, a 2 E, and then back up to the hi-hat for the and normally to do an open hi-hat. So 1 E and a 2 E and. It's not E and, it's just E and, but you could play E and. It doesn't really matter, it's still going to create the same effect. 1 E and a 2 E and 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and 3. 1 E and a 2 E and 3, 4, a 1. A little sneaky 1 there at the end of that bar. So let's hear that played up to speed. And then finally at 3 minute 04, John does another cool idea where he plays extra snare drum notes on beat 3. And he does this a couple of times in the song, but this is one that stood out for me. So he plays 1 E and a 2 E and 3. So straight to the snare drum on beat 3 again with the bass drum after that snare drum on 2. 1, 2 and 3. It's an open hi-hat there. And 3 E and. Again, open hi-hat on the and a 3. And then into normal snare drum on 4. And then for beat 4 we get 4 E and a 1. So a normal open hi-hat on the and a beat 4. But the left hand comes down to the snare drum to play the final 16th of the bar into a crash and bass drum. So slowly, 1 E and a 2 E and 3 and 4 and a 1. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 and a 1. So let's hear that played up to speed. So if you've got any questions about any of that, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. Don't forget to download all 3 pages of this of the transcription from my website for free. You'll find the link beneath this video. And then while you're at my website, you might want to consider signing up to become an online member. And what I currently offer for $97 is a full year's online access to every single full video song lesson I've ever recorded and transcribed. And that's coming up to 450 famous and popular songs. Unlike this lesson where I teach you just the main parts, in my full song lessons I teach you every single bar from start to finish. You get the full PDF drum chart with each lesson. I've got a couple of other Michael Jackson songs up on the website already, and I'm sure more will be added in the future. But like I said, I've got almost 450 famous and popular songs, full song lessons on the website already. As a thank you for signing up, I give you access to hundreds more little videos teaching you many, many famous drum beats, fills, and even drum solos. I give you 3 ebooks teaching you many, many hundreds more famous beats, fills, and solos. And then over the year of your subscription, you also gain instant online access to all the new material that I upload to my members. And I record new lessons every week unless I'm ill on holiday. So you've got lots of cool stuff to look forward to over the year of your subscription. But if you've got any questions about any of that, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. And until the next drum lesson together, toodle pip and happy drumming to you.